hand. 130's on the floor. Okay. Good afternoon. On behalf of the family of Bonnie L Pons, I'd like to thank everybody for being here from the family for this sad but yet very important moment. It is written, the eye never has its fill of seeing. Young or old, those who depart this life never see enough of the world, never complete their tasks, and never cherish their loved ones enough before they are called home. How they yearn yet for another respite from the final summons, and how we yearn to have them close to us for yet another challenge in our life, yet another journey, yet another precious moment together. God be now with those whose hearts are broken, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. Console them at this tender hour. Be near them when light seems distant. Sustain them, O God, until time of healing. A woman of valor, who can find? She's more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. So she does him good, never harm, all the days of their lives. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need, extends her hand to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praise. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you, Bonnie, excel them all. O God, you've been our refuge in every generation. Before the mountains came into being, you brought forth the earth, the world, and from eternity to eternity, you are God. As for us, you turn to us in repentance and say, return, you mortals. The days of our lives are 70, or by reason of strength, 80 years. But 1,000 years in God's sight are but a yesterday, when in the past, and as we watch into the night. Teach us, therefore, to number our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom. And may your favor, O God, be upon us. Establish the work of thy hands, and may your name long endure. Death has taken our beloved Bonnie L Pons. Our friends grieved in their darkened world, and in the silence there's lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in this sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, be with them. For Bonnie L Pons, love that united us in life, and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we share along life's path, and which continues throughout the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us to joy and happiness, and is now a precious remembrance for all those and more. We give thanks to you, O God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voices of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator, in the light of darkness, in the joy and the sorrows of life, and in death. help me with this prayer. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under the sun. There is a time to be born and a time to die. There is a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to grieve and a time to dance. A time to throw stones and a time to gather those stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to discard. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. At this time, I'm going to ask Bonnie's family and friends to come forward. First, we're going to ask best friend Roz Stone, please. If you'll come forward and share some remarks.
Hearts, love, and flowers. That's what I think of when I think of Bonnie. Therefore, the reason for my heart, or for my flowered shirt and my heart necklace that Bonnie lovingly gave me, and she has the same one. Bonnie was my best friend, my confidant, my partner in crime. We told each other everything. We met 48 years ago. She was always keeping track of the years and would always remind me how many there have been. We've been there for each other every step of the way, through good times and bad. We met when she was new to town, and we both were in the play Fiddler on the Roof together at Park Synagogue. She and her first husband, Vic, had 2 children, Jason, then 2.5, and Michelle, 5. Once we met, we all bonded immediately. I loved her children and was happy to babysit for them when their parents went away for the weekend. Bonnie was one of the very few people that called me Rosie. Everyone else called me Roz. I just loved that. It was such a warm feeling of endearment, and since then, her entire family and her friends all call me Rosie, and if they don't, I remind them. When we met, Bonnie had already lost her entire family, her sister, father, and mother. Our family adopted her immediately into ours. We shared so many family gatherings and other activities over the years. We spent an entire day before every Rosh Hashanah and Passover cooking together in my home. Bonnie was 9 years older than me. She really was like a big sister, and she told it like it was. If I had something between my teeth, she told me. If I had schmutz on my face or a tiny spot on my shirt, she told me. When my hair looked drab and needed more color, she let me know. And when she said that I needed to wear makeup, she took me to the store to buy some. That was Bonnie. For many years, Friday became our day. We tried to find different things to do each week, from shopping anywhere, estate and garage sales, resale stores, and of course, lunches. It really didn't matter though. All that mattered was being together. More recently, we got involved at Big Hearted Blooms, a special place that collects and delivers recycled flowers to those in nursing homes and other care facilities. Bonnie always called it her happy place. We spent many weekend days at art shows, craft fairs, and of course, Playhouse Square Broadway series. Our daughter Becca reminded me of several Aunt Bonnie stories. Her first haircut was given to her by Aunt Bonnie, and when the 2 of them drove to visit Michelle, who was then living in Chicago, Aunt Bonnie let her drive for several hours on the freeway while she only had her learner's permit. She also reminded me of going out to dinner. Almost everything came to the table ice cold, according to Bonnie, and we loved to tease her about it. Our families shared so many special simchas. Jason and Michelle recited the motzi, the blessing over bread, at our wedding. Our daughter Rebecca was a bridesmaid at Michelle's wedding when she was only 13. I signed the ketubah, the marriage certificate, at Bonnie and Alan's wedding. Michelle was the officiant at Rebecca and Preston's wedding. A true circle of life, a life that is hard to ever imagine without Bonnie. Rest well, my friend. I will miss you forever.
At this time, I'm going to call forward Jay Goodman.
That's one so far. I'm just going to bring this with me. Wow. Well, I'm glad that we chose the big room versus the small one. That was a good choice. On behalf of my entire family, I'd like to say thank you so much for the overwhelming outpouring of love and support. It is clearly evident that my mother, Bonnie Pons, touched many lives. Adjectives I would use to describe my mom: happy, content, loving, devoted, loyal, forgiving, sometimes, caring, comforting, generous, stubborn, proud, grateful, adventurous, hilarious, serving, and acceptance. And my mom liked just about any type of board game, card games. When she was younger, I remember she would play tennis, and I used to live for snow days when she used to bowl at the old Golden Gate bowling alley, and they had this giant arcade. I used to bug my mom while she was bowling, and she had the weirdest bowling hitch you've ever seen in her life. It was crazy. But I wanted to kind of give you just kind of a snapshot of who my mom was, and you know, it was not a lot of time to put all this together. So if I omit anybody or if I have this out of order, I apologize. Bonnie Lois Pons was born in Chicago, Illinois on April 21st, 1942 to Milton and Sylvia Mastro. She, along with her older sister Rita, grew up on Chicago's South Side and was always around cousins, family, and friends. She was very close to her Grammy Cecil and wanted to be just like her when she had grandchildren. She loved to tell us about playing with Olympic gold medalist Jesse Owens' daughters. Kind of cool. Funny side note, when my mom was sick and she was kind of in and out, and I would just kind of give her a litmus test. And I would say, "Hey Mom, Cubs or White Sox?" Always White Sox. As a teen, she was involved with the Chicago B'nai B'rith Youth Organization, where she would meet one of her lifelong friends, Arlene Miller. She attended many BBYO conventions across the country, where groups from other parts of the country would gather. It was at one of these conventions that she would become friendly with a young woman from New York by the name of Judy Goodman. The two stayed in contact and would see each other occasionally at other conventions. And Judy had a younger brother named Vic, who was traveling the country, visiting family after being discharged from the Army. When he stopped in Chicago, Judy told him to look up her friend Bonnie, and they went out on a date and were instantly smitten by each other. Vic would go back to New York, but the two would visit each other frequently, and it wasn't long before he had proposed to her and they were married. He took a job that relocated them to Omaha, Nebraska, where they started a family. A beautiful baby girl named Michelle Carey in 1969, and 3 years later, a big old bundle of chubby goodness, a son that stands before you here today. During their time in Omaha, Mom would meet two more lifelong besties, Elaine Nagy and Dora Goldstrom. A couple of years later, my dad was transferred to another territory in Cleveland, Ohio. The Goodman family would establish its roots in Euclid. Shortly after moving to Cleveland, they would become members of Park Synagogue, where Mom would meet Roz Rath at the time, not Stone. And she was her closest friend. They were like sisters. As a matter of fact, many people just assumed that you were. And Mom would meet wonderful friends like Lenny and Esther Entel. And because Dad's family was primarily in New York and Mom's was in Chicago, Rosie, and then later Pete and Rebecca and Josh, Stone and Lenny and Esther and Gabrielle and Rebecca and Mark would all become our big extended family, and we would share many, many wonderful memories throughout the years. Mom worked as a hairdresser for several years. After getting married and having kids, she stayed home to take care of us in our early days, early years. As we got into school, my sister and I, she went to work downtown for Harvey Klein, CPA. She also worked for another close friend of hers, Phyllis Schwartz, at Kid Stamps as an office manager. And that was kind of cool because she actually got to travel and go to different conventions. And I know that she really enjoyed doing that. She would also work at the College of Jewish Studies, Browder Miller Advertising, and Caldwell Banker Hunter Realty as a receptionist and administrative assistant until she retired in 2008. So you're probably starting to see a trend that wherever my mom went, she would make new friends. But she never forgot the old ones. And my mom she loved hard, and she cherished each and every one of her friendships. Each and every one of you were incredibly important to her. Mom was certainly not without struggle or loss. Her father, as mentioned, passed away in his 50s, and her sister Rita passed away unexpectedly a few years before Michelle was born. A few years after I was born, her mother, Sylvia, passed away, and suddenly in her 30s, Mom's family had gotten very small. Thankfully, Sylvia's sister, Mel, do I have that right? Aunt Mel, right? Mel and her husband, Al, were like second parents to her. And she always maintained a close relationship with Aunt Mel and Uncle Al, and her cousin Linny, and her husband Butch, and their two daughters, Dina and Sarah. In 1998, my parents divorced, and this was a difficult time for all of us. But I always admired the courage that it took my mom to stay true to herself. And she went out into this big, scary world on her own after 30 years of marriage. And shortly after this transition, my daughter Abby came along with impeccable timing. And I've told Abby this. I think you saved her life, because that was a rough time for Mom. And you coming along, you brightened her world. The bond that Abby and my mom had was very similar to the bond that she had with her Grammy. And I know that filled her heart Mom embraced the role of Grammy with pride and joy, and it was evident with all of her grandchildren, Abby, Xander, Aaron, Hayden, Joe. You meant the world to Grammy. And she was very, very proud. And she told you. She would always tell everybody. Whether it was a soccer game or a second grade art exhibition, Grammy would never miss it, if she could. Even in the poor condition that she was in a few weeks ago, you could still tell how much pride she took in seeing Xander graduate from Bowling Green State University, and my son Joe graduate from the Medina Career Center at Medina High School. So she hung on because that was important to her. She wanted to see you guys graduate. About a year into being on her own, she met Big Al. Now I'm going to let Al tell his story, but I just want to let you know that you made her very, very happy, and she loves you very, very much. Okay? Finally, my mom gave me so much. First, she gave me my love for singing. We would always sing and harmonize to Take Me Home by John Denver in the car. The summer between my 7th and 8th grade year, my awful mother made me sign up for summer school because I didn't want to go to camp and she was not going to let me run around the neighborhood like a derelict. So I chose typing and computer classes. And obviously those two skills have served me pretty well in my life. So thank you for that, Mom. I know I was a difficult kid. And she and I talked about this. And I know I was insatiable, and I craved attention, and I made bad choices. But she never gave up on me. And she taught me unconditional love. I know it took a little bit of time, but I turned out okay. And I know you're proud of me because you told me and you showed me. I loved how you beamed with pride when you told everybody that's my son. I sang Neil Diamond for you at my performance on Friday. It wasn't awful. Mom, thank you for being a wonderful human. I will most certainly miss your smile and that infectious laugh. But I know how much you loved me, and so that's good enough for me. I love you.
Body's daughter, Michelle Bunn. Coming forward next, please.
I'm going to do this. Okay. Bear with me. First of all, I want to say that I am so grateful to everyone who was able to come out here today, and even those who weren't able to come out. everybody that sent well wishes. The outpouring of love that my family has received over the last few months that we've been going through this has been overwhelming. And such a tribute to my mom and how much she was loved and how much love that she gave. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a t-shirt to my mom's funeral. Well, it's a Life is Good t-shirt that she gave me. In fact, she gave me a lot of Life is Good t-shirts. And one could say that she had a very slight Life is Good problem. I think she single-handedly might have paid several of the employees of Life is Good salaries over the years. But life is good. And that was the theme of my mom's life. From her childhood, to her family, to her friends, to her acquaintances, to people she just met even at the hospital, the nurses. She believed that life was good, and right up to the end, she believed that life was good. My mom and I had a wonderful, complicated, and loving relationship. One of the most amazing parts of that relationship was that we didn't always agree. We argued, we cried, but we always came back to each other. There was not a single issue or silly argument or disagreement that we could not overcome. We always said, "I love you." Sometimes it was, "I love you. I love you too." But we always came back together. And that was one of the things I treasured the most. My mom loved me. She loved us. With no conditions, no strings, no stipulations. She just loved us. We had so many things in common. And so many things that were radically different. Sometimes she would even say to me, "I'm not sure what house you grew up in or if you are even my child," because of a lot of our differences. Mom loved everything new and modern. Me, antiques, old houses, used cars. Mom was very neat and tidy. Me, total slob. Mom was always 30 minutes early. If you told her dinner was at 6, she showed up at 5:30. Me, always late. Mom's idea of ethnic food was a quesadilla at Applebee's. Me, as most of you know, will eat pretty much anything, especially if it's ethnic. Although sometimes I could just tell her to shut up and eat it, and she would. She would give me the look first, but she would eat it, and then she would say, "Wow, that was actually really good." I'd say, "See? Don't worry about what's in it, just eat it." One of my favorite examples is just recently, after going to Big Hearted Blooms, we would always go out to lunch, and I ordered eggplant meatballs, and her response to that was, "I will never eat that." And I think I got 2 out of the 8 meatballs that were on the plate, and we went back the following week to get more. We were also alike in so many ways. We're both fiercely loyal friends. We're both empathetic. We're both criers. We both love to shop and go to lunch. We both love to crochet and cook. We were huggers, kissers, snugglers, and foot rubbers. We never left without saying "I love you" and giving lots of hugs and kisses. My mom was always incredibly supportive of everything I did, even if she didn't agree with what I was doing, and trust me, she gave me her opinion. She would still support and encourage me in my happiest times and in my most difficult. even when she was in the hospital and I was having so much anxiety about losing her. She beckoned me to climb into her hospital bed, and she wrapped me in her arms and let me know that everything was going to be okay. Even when she was struggling, she wanted me to be okay. And she was willing to do whatever it took to make that happen. My mom taught me so much. She taught me to cook. She was a really good cook. She gave me the base and tools for my love of cooking and my inability to cook for less than 50 people. Though, when I would call her up for one of her recipes, she would inevitably say, "Don't change it." Because I would always put my little spin on it, and that drove her nuts. Well, Mom, the other day, Aaron and I made your mandel bread, and we didn't change a thing. She taught me that there's always room at the table for more people. Often at any given holiday growing up, we would surprise her with a few friends, and Mom would always just add extra chairs and pull out more food. She taught me empathy and strength, and sometimes, to her own dismay, independence. Often people would tell us that we looked alike. She got a huge kick out of that because she never saw it. But when I look in the mirror or at a picture, I do see it. And I was okay with it because my mom was a beautiful woman, inside and out. Ooh, I will miss our lunches after you and Rose come out to Medina to get your hair done, going to art shows in the summer, shopping, and just lazing a day away. I'll miss going garaging and going to consignment stores with you, family dinners, and playing lots of games. I'll miss baking with you. One of the most cherished memories was how baking became our thing during quarantine. We managed to bake virtually. We baked bread, all kinds of bread. Each of us would make dough via FaceTime, and then we would hang up, and then when the dough rose, we would call back to put it in the oven, and finally calling back to see the finished product. And eventually, when I went into a little soft pretzel quarantine business, she called them bagels, she became my top employee, working for lunches and sometimes just hugs. Just getting to see you is payment enough, she would say. It was an amazing way for us to be together, and where this shirt that I'm wearing made its debut. And I miss it a lot. I will even miss your daily technical calls, thinking that I could fix your TV, your phone, or your iPad. And in the rare case that I could, telling me just how amazing I was. And it was usually literally just clicking a button. In the end, it was my turn to comfort her. It was my turn to support her in her toughest moment. It was my honor, no matter how hard it was, to wrap my arms around her and tell her she was loved and that everything was going to be okay. She died surrounded by family and love, and she knew up to her last moment that she was loved fiercely. Mom had a saying that she said to me almost every time we parted. I love you more than you know. And if everything in my life had gone wrong, it would be okay because I had you. Well, Mom, I love you more than you know. And if everything in my life had gone wrong, it would be okay because I had you. She was not ready to go. She had more to do, more to see, more to love. And I promise you this, Mom, I will live for you. I will do for you and I will love for you. And I will remember every day that life is good. Thanks, everybody.
Abby Goodman, come forward.
Everybody said such nice long things, and I know that I'm gonna cry, so I kept mine short and sweet. They say opposites attract, and we were opposites. She was this bubbly, outgoing extrovert, and well, I'm an introvert. She loved all things colorful, and we'd go out shopping, and she'd pull out a super colorful thing, and she'd be like, "Isn't this cute?" And I'd be like, "Do they have it in black?" Except when it came to my hair, I'd dye it bright pink or blue, and she'd always tell me that she preferred it dark. I did it whatever I wanted anyway. She always told me I had an old soul, and that's probably why I liked spending time with her and her friends, but she had a young soul. And she never passed up an opportunity to dance or to take a selfie. But we also had things in common, like a love for Disney movies and music, and she made me promise to never grow up. But she always treated me like a grown-up. I was always invited to lunches with the ladies and any other events with her friends because we weren't just best friends, we were soulmates. And I'll find her in whatever comes next.
Mr. Pons, L Pons.
Well, I have to say this, I am just amazed with all the people being here today to honor my bride. I love Bonnie Borden, anybody will ever know. And how I want to just talk about how I met Bonnie in our life a little bit. I was a widower, and I was dying in my home, and I was old-fashioned. I put an ad in the Jewish News in November of 1999, not thinking anything was going to happen. But it ran for 2 weeks, and God sent me 37 answers. I had to pay to get the information $3.50 for each call. And I was a salesman. So what I did, I interviewed all these people, women on the phone. And I eliminated them very fast because they were telling me more than what I wanted to know. Some of you know this stuff, okay? But I took 3 women out for coffee. The first one was a very nice lady, but she was 56 years old and never married, and after being with her 20 minutes, I knew why. And the other lady was a very nice lady, but I couldn't make eye contact with her. And the third lady was my Bonnie. I met her about 4 or 5 days later at Applebee's, and she got out of her car and started beep-bopping towards the door. That's just the way she was. And I'm standing in the doorway, and God is my witness, I fell in love with her the instant I saw her. We closed the place then. And to be honest, we were together from that night to today. Okay? We had a lot of good times. Okay? When we first started dating, Bonnie was having a tough time. She was living in Cleveland Heights, and she was not making very much money. So we'd go shopping, and I'd put all her stuff in my cart and pay for her groceries. And she says, "I can't pay you back." I said, jokingly, we'll take it out and trade, and she smacked me. Okay? So we had wonderful times. Time went on a year and a half or so, and we got serious, and we got married. And we had a beautiful wedding in Hudson on the square. Our families were there. There was only one granddaughter there at the time, I think. Okay, Abby. Was Aaron born? Aaron was born there.
Xander was born.
Xander, I mean. I remember. Okay. So after that, we went to Vegas. Big mistake. Donnie did not like Vegas, and when I go to Vegas, I'm a different person. Okay? And we went to the Venetian Hotel, and she wanted to go on the canoe ride. All right? And I says, why? And she got mad at me, and we didn't go on the canoe ride. We had a very terrible, terrible trip. About a year later, we had to go out to California. We had 2 weddings in 2 weeks. My best friend, Javier, his daughter was getting married. A military wedding in the mountains. It was gorgeous. And the following week, my cousin, Noreen's daughter, was getting married in LA. So that week we traveled. So we went back to Vegas. She didn't want to go. But the first thing we got after we checked in the hotel and I got the car, we went straight to the Venetian. And she said, why are you taking me here? I said, because I have something to give you back. We went to go on the canoe ride, and the guy was just closing, and I said to him, you can't close. I gave him a $20 bill. He gave me 2 tickets, and we went on it, and she enjoyed it. And we went to Boulder City. I didn't know, first time in my life I went to Vegas and did not gamble. Okay, after that we went to San Diego, which she loved very much. And then we went back to LA for the second wedding, and she had such a great time at that wedding. She danced with Richard Simmons. He was at the wedding. And I have a picture in my house with him, and Bonnie and me. After that we came back to Cleveland. We went on many, many trips. We went to Italy and Greece and Turkey. We went to England, France, Ireland, Scotland. We went a lot of trips, a lot of cruises. We had wonderful times. But best of all, because of Bonnie, I got to be another family. There's Lenny and Esther, her best friends. One of her best friends became my friends. Bernie and Sorrel. Bernie is like my brother now. Wonderful, wonderful people. Because if it wasn't for Bonnie, I would have never, ever met them. And if I leave anybody out, I'm very sorry because I'm very, very emotional right now. But we had wonderful times, and it's just a shame what happened to her. Okay, and I'll miss her forever, and I want to say God bless her. Thank you.
Oh, sure, of course.
Al forgot some stuff. But I just wanted to say 2 things. We are going to have a little reception back at the house, 321 Cobblestone. There's going to be lots of good Jewish deli there, so please come back and join us, and we can talk about more stories. And the other thing that I wanted to say was, as has been mentioned several times, at the end of my mom's life, Big Hearted Blooms was her happy place. She loved flowers more than anything, and she loved the idea behind getting these flowers that were going to get thrown away and turning them into bouquets. And actually, when she was in the hospital, they brought her several bouquets. And so I just would like to encourage everyone, if you can, in lieu of sending gifts or flowers or anything like that, please donate to this fantastic organization. It's a wonderful place, and it was one of the things that made my mom really the happiest. She told me at one time that if she could go there every single day, she would. So let's fill their coffers in her honor and make it so that they can give lots of flowers to lots of people. And you can also donate your time as well. If you're not able to donate money, they are always looking for flower arrangers, people to pick flowers up that they use to donate, people to deliver. And if you also know of someone or an organization that would like to have flowers delivered to them, let them know, because they will take that into account as well. So I just wanted to put that out there if you didn't see it online or whatever. But thank you all so much again for being here today. This is amazing, and I'm just overwhelmed. On behalf of my whole family, I just want to thank everybody so much for everything. Thanks again.
In the rising of the sun and its going down, we will remember Bonnie. You folks can help me. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember Bonnie. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember Bonnie. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, we will remember Bonnie. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember Bonnie. When we're weary and in need of strength, we will remember Bonnie. When we're lost, sick at heart, we will remember Bonnie. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember Bonnie. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us, and we will forever remember Bonnie. For those of you that know the 23rd Psalm, I'd like to say this psalm together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of our enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of our lives, and we shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a going, a growing, from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking back or ahead, we see that victory lies not in some high place along the way, but in having made the journey. Stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, death is a destination. But life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made by stage by stage, to life everlasting. And together we say, Amen. Elboy Rachamim, Shachin Vamramin, Hamsei Minufanakam, Kanpei Sanshina. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, and among the holy and pure who shine in the brightness of the firmament, under the soul of Bonnie L Pons, who has gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under thy cover of thy wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be thou her possession, and may her repose be in everlasting peace. And together we say, Amen.
Amen.
Finally, we're going to say Kaddish together. Kaddish is an ancient prayer, not even Hebrew, the Aramaic before Hebrew. And it's really a praise of the Lord, thanking God for the time and the life that Bonnie had shared with all of you. And together we say, Yisgadal, Yisgadash, Meirabah, Bialma, Yivra, Yavlis, Mapusei, Chayakom, Yomakom, Hayatol, Bagalav, Gizman, Yibru, Amen. Yahei, Shmei, Rabba, Mebarak, Leolam, Lumeo, Mayo. Yisbarak, Yishabak, Yispar, Yismamat, Yisnaseh, Yisadar, Yisalel, Bezalal, Shmei, Turisho, Ridhu. Le'elo, Minko, Birkosa, Tushbakosa, Benecha Masa, Damiran, Vimru, Amen. Yehei, Shlomo, Rabba, Min Shchaim, Chaim, Aleinu, Yaakov, Israel, Vimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom, Vimrama, Huyaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Yaakov, Israel, Vimru, Amen. As you're coming here within peace, so too may your going forward in peace. I'd like to remind you that the family is receiving immediately following at 321, I'm sorry,
Cobblestone.
321 Cobblestone Drive
Mayfield.
in Mayfield Heights. At this time, services are concluded, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, I forgot you. I did it, I did right, I did it on that outside.
I have one.